Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series Beyond the Void, taken from Reddit. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below. And, as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 7. Gorsh's Point of View. The staccato whirring of guns and the concussive bangs of explosives flooded my senses, and I struggled to keep my rifle steady. Engaging a squad of rogue humans was well above my pay grade. I was a patrol agent with only basic training and zero field experience. The primates seemed to move in sync, communicating without words. It was as though the firefight was a choreographed dance that they had rehearsed 1,000 times. When they darted out into the open, they were back under cover before they could target them. The furtive movement seemed designed to distract us, while another contingent encircled us from behind. One cluster of humans were preparing our position with fire, chewing through our metal container bit by bit. If they wanted my attention, then, by stars, they could have it. Staring down the sights of my gun, all I could make out was the outline of their helmets, barely visible behind a barrel. I depressed the trigger, assaulting their shelter with the plasma fire. Their refuge was parked with scorch mark, but the barrel withstood my enraged barrage. Frustration hummed in my chest as my rifle vibrated, indicating that it was on cooldown. The enemy was closing in on us with a methodical ease. It was a matter of time before they crashed through our entrenchments. The Terran soldiers and their few surviving Federation allies had no chance to regroup to get their bearings. As far as I was concerned, the fight was over. I was already playing my death in my head. Perhaps I would be ripped apart by the seams by nasty explosives, mutilated and unrecognizable. The thought had no sooner crossed my mind when an object sailed over the counter, landing behind General Blaise. I considered running, as a Terran soldier had done earlier, but then I remembered it hadn't done him any good. General Ikov's eyes widened with alarm, and then, to my utter disbelief, he reached out for the device. And he lost his mind. Quicker than my eye could track, the dark-haired officer hurled the device back in the direction it came from. A few Terran choruses echoed from above the fray, followed by the sound of a detonation. Hesitantly, I peeked back up above our container. One enemy was crawling through the pool of his own blood, cupping a pale hand to his neck. His other hand was fumbling around, in a blind attempt to find his weapon. I was amazed that anyone could still be conscious after sustaining such injuries, let alone having the presence of mind to fight. I raised my recharged rifle and aimed a shot towards his temple. My breath hitched in my throat. It felt wrong to strike down someone too wounded to fight back. But with how resilient humans were, it was too dangerous to leave an opponent alive. It was merciful, anyways, I told myself, instead of leaving him to bleed out in agony. My claw hooked on the trigger, and the plasma bolt tore through his skull. The light fizzled out from his eyes, and he fell limp to the floor. I'd just killed a man, a permanent, irrevocable action. The guilt that racked my body made me want to curl up in a ball and weep. My mind was spinning, my chest burned, my throat felt like it was constricting. "Breathe, Gorsh," Joffrey hissed, snapping me out of my daze. "You can have a panic attack later." I took a shaky breath, trying to ground myself. "That's not how that works." "Do you think that you're the only one that's scared?" She fired back with shots over the container, then ducked back down. "It was your idea to get involved with this crap anyways. Now isn't the time to rethink your decisions." "You chose to tag along," I spat back. "I don't know how you can just so be so matter of fact. It's your first time killing someone too." Joffrey's eyes darted toward Rykov, and she dropped her voice to a whisper. "First off, they attacked us. Secondly, you killed a human. They're hardly more than animals. I wouldn't sleep over it." I glanced at the Terran general and breathed a sigh of relief as he didn't react. Joffrey's disdain for humans was becoming more overt by the minute. "You're lucky he didn't hear you. Maybe you should give them a chance, Gosh. You know I love you, but shut up. Please, just shoot the fecking perps." I sighed, surveying the surroundings once more. One rival was setting up some sort of rocket launcher inside the hangar at the far end of the spaceport. Fires were already raging throughout the terminal. The last thing we needed was more explosives in our section. I unleashed a volley of shots in his direction. From such a long range, my precision was limited, but one plasma bolt did connect with his shoulder. Hopefully, that was enough to disrupt his task. A buzzing noise came from behind me, and I whirled around. Rykov had opened up a large briefcase, which was packed with tiny machines. They almost looked like four-winged insects, but I couldn't see what practical use they would have in battle. General, what is that?" I asked. He fiddled with the joystick, not looking up. "A drone swarm." I squinted in confusion. A what? "A watch and learn," came the amused reply. "When they're down, we're going to attack. Prepare to move." The insectoid contraptions lifted off. They were small enough to fit in my paws. However, after seeing the diminutive ground explosives, I wasn't going to underestimate them. For all I knew, these were some sort of flying localized nukes. The drones homed in on the enemy targets, shelling them with lasers. Our assailants turned their guns towards the sky, diverting their focus from us. The machines then dove towards the ground in unison, signaling out a single target and ramming them from head to toe. Most disintegrated on impact, but there were more standing by to take their place. Rinse and repeat. It was the death by 1,000 stings, clearly. Terran weaponry was not limited to the famed bombs. The drone's victims flailed about like they were on fire, clawing at their eyes. I turned away from the brutal scene, not wanting to watch any longer. But the blood-curdling scream still found their way to my ears. "Soldiers, move in!" Rykov shouted. I rose to my feet on autopilot, tagging behind the general. Could I ever underestimate humans? Sure, drone swarm had been the only thing to turn the tide, but the fact that they dreamed up such brutality, that was the issue. So many people in the Federation defined humanity by their aggressive side, but I believed there was more complex than that. I could have sworn that I saw sadness, compassion even, flash in Rykov's eyes as we passed the wounded comrade. It was all an act. I was buying it, hook, line, and sinker. "A lot of Terran casualties today, I'm sorry for your loss, General," I stammered. Rykov glanced at me, smiling bitterly. "Gosh, they're only human, hardly more than animals. I wouldn't lose sleep over it." I flinched. Crap. "You heard that, every word. Your friend is as subtle as a sledgehammer. I'm sorry. Really sorry. Joffy is just having a bad day. She didn't mean it." "Yes, she did. I could see it in her eyes from the first briefing. Then, I've stayed out of her way. But, my God, people don't usually put it so bluntly." "She doesn't have much of a filter, sir. The general raised a hand to stop me, leaning over a rival corpse. The body was riddled with wounds, but I thought I saw a rise and fall of chest. Rykov poked him with the butt of his rifle and received a groan in response. If he took one in alive, maybe we could get some answers. We needed to know why they attacked us and what exactly the Pisces was up to. "Any nearby personnel? We have a prisoner in need of medical transport at my location." Rykov spoke into his comset and turned to me. "Gosh, we're going to do a quick sweep of the hangar bay, but after that, I want you to head back to the ship. You're overdue for some rest." I nodded. "Yes, sir." "Also, for what it's worth, don't be too hard on yourself." He ran a hand through his brown hair, smoothing the back. "First time taking a lifer. Feels like shit. It doesn't get easier. I think you just get more used to the feeling." "It does feel like shit, sir. May I ask?" I paused, and I gestured for me to go on. "Why are you nice to me?" "Pardon? You pulled me aside, back on the ship. You treat me like a friend, an equal." "Why?" "You remind me of someone." "And what became of the someone?" "In short, they shot the Senate Speaker and disappeared. A story for another day." With respect, sir, I don't see this resemblance, sir." He chuckled. "No, you wouldn't." We browsed the interior of the hangar bay in silence, delving through crates and computer terminals. I wasn't sure how I gave the general the same impression as an assassin, or why exactly that would lead to a friendly behavior. Perhaps humans had a few loose screws, and it was as simple as that. Mystery solved. Teams of Terran ships were sweeping the ships that remained dormant inside. No doubt that they were trying to identify which one was the Pisces. It didn't look like they needed any help. I meandered over to the back wall, stopping by a chipped door that read emergency exit. Upon closer inspection, there was a thin trail of blood on the floor, which seemed to lead outside. Hesitantly, I pushed the door open. There was a winding dirt road, which carved its way down the grassy knoll. It appeared to lead down to the docks, where I could make out a Covian male unmooring a boat. I raised my rifle, sprinting down the path. After what we had endured, there was no way that I could just watch the bastard escape. My brain registered a flash of movement as I passed a bulky tree. I turned my head in time to see a wiry human jump out and swing a red, cylindrical object at me. There was a brief thunderclap of pain as I struck behind the ear. Darkness descended on my vision, snuffing out my consciousness in an instant. End of chapter. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I just quickly want to thank the Tier 5 patrons and channel members: Alithia Barkey, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Albarden Guster, Arcadian, Lord Azrakal, and Joachim Backer.